So why is the men's rights movement so hated? Why do so many people hate men's rights activists or even fear men's rights activists? I've been in the MRA for a long time, for over a decade, since high school, and I've gotten so many very negative and very hostile and even fearful reactions to that. I've had times when I've known people for a while, coworkers or friends, but as soon as they find out that I'm a men's rights activist, it really confuses them because they say, well, you seem like a reasonable person, and I don't understand why you would be a men's rights activist. And then when I explain to them what my belief systems are and why I'm an MRA and what that means to me and what we believe, they're surprised because their expectations were very different because they have this image of MRAs as being misogynistic and hateful and hating women, etc. And it's bothered me for all these years of being an MRA. Why do we have such a negative reputation when, in my opinion, the things that MRAs believe in is just basic equality? We want fairness for all. We're not misogynistic. We don't hate anybody. We just want to address issues that affect men and boys. We want to address men's issues that are pervasive in society. And we get such a negative, such a hostile reaction to that. And I often wonder why that is. And it's very confusing. And sometimes there's, this feeling of kind of isolation where you feel like you're doing the right thing and yet you're just surrounded by people who are against that. And it feels like it's very almost disconcerting to think that you're believing in the right thing and yet you're getting so much hate for it. And so I step back sometimes and I wonder, why is the men's rights movement so hated? Why do MRAs get so much negativity? And I think the number one reason is misunderstanding. I think people misunderstand the men's rights movement and misunderstand what we believe. I think people don't actually disagree with what MRAs believe. Like our core values, I think most people would agree with because our core values are equality and justice. And it's really as simple as that. We don't support sexism. We don't support discrimination. We don't support misogyny. We're not white supremacists. But a lot of people have those associations towards the men's rights movement. And so when they hear the label MRA, they have an instant negative reaction. I think if we could educate people and talk to people about what men's rights activists actually believe and what we actually stand for, I think people would realize that the image they have about the men's rights movement just isn't accurate. Now, the question that I have to be honest with is, why do people have such a negative perception of the men's rights movement? If what we say is good, if what we do is good, if the way we treat people is equally, if we're the good guys and we're saying the right thing and we're doing the right thing and we're just trying to achieve equality and justice for everybody, then why is everybody so against us? What's interesting is that I've noticed that people aren't actually against MRA beliefs. Like, they're not actually against the things we believe in. They're not actually against our ideas. When I talk to people and I explain some of the ideas and positions of the men's rights movement, they agree. But as soon as I use the label men's rights activist, as soon as I use the label MRA, I get a very negative reaction some of the time. Other times, I have to say, people are beginning to slowly warm up to the idea of the men's rights movement. But there's still many, many people who, as soon as they hear men's rights activist or MRA, they immediately have these associations in their head: a red pill, misogynistic, incel. And I realize that it's not the ideas of the men's rights movement that are getting rejected. It's the label of the men's rights movement that's getting rejected. They have an association with the men's rights movements as an organization rather than a philosophy. And I think a lot of this is because people label things and they associate things based on what they think a person is, based on how they choose to identify themselves, rather than listening to what someone actually says or how they actually feel. I don't want to get into politics, but I think this is also going on with Republicans and Democrats in the United States. If you hear someone is a Democrat or Republican, a lot of people immediately make absolute assumptions about that person. And I think that's just very, very unhealthy. So the question is, if people agree with the ideas that MRAs talk about, then why are they so against the label of the men's rights movement? Why does the men's rights movement have such a bad name attached to it? And so I'm in a position where I really have to be honest. And if I'm honest to the question, why do I think the men's rights movement has such a bad reputation? I think most of it is because we're very unfairly attacked and slandered and smeared by people who I'll call anti-MRAs. And this is unfortunately where I have to bring feminism and feminists into the conversation, which I never like doing because a lot of people say that, oh, the men's rights movement is just a reactionary movement to feminism, and you don't actually care about men's rights. You just want to be against feminism, and it's just a dog whistle for misogyny. And the reality is, we're attacked by feminists constantly. And something I want to make clear is that if you're watching this right now and you're a feminist and you say, I don't hate men, I want to dismantle the patriarchy, I want to help men, I'm not blaming people like you. The feminists that I'm blaming are some of these political lobby groups or some of these big name feminists on social media who I don't actually think are speaking in good faith, and I don't actually think are pursuing equality. And the reason why I say this is not because I've read some right-wing blog on feminism and now it's poisoned me against feminism. It's because for over a decade of talking about men's issues, I have had constant attacks, debates, and arguments with people who call themselves feminists who say things that are blatantly sexist and blatantly untrue. And we've seen feminist organizations lobby for laws that discriminate against men. You can search my channel. If you go in my channel, search feminism, and you'll see I have dozens of videos where I criticize feminists for things that they say and do. But I don't just blurt out things, oh, I don't like feminists for X, Y, and Z. Whenever I make a video criticizing feminists, I always give links, I give specific examples, I give you the name of the specific individual or the specific organization, and I put links in the description below, direct links showing the example that I'm talking about. It's not something that we just make up for no reason. And I'll finish by saying this. Is the men's rights movement perfect? Of course not. There's millions of people who call themselves MRAs. So of course you'll find examples of someone calling themselves an MRA saying something that is misogynistic. And we don't deny that misogyny exists. There are many, many valid cases and points that feminists bring up that are completely true. And we don't deny that. We're against sexism and misogyny of any kind, and sexism against women is definitely a real thing. Another thing I just want to close out on is the associations that sometimes you'll see with the men's rights movement and the red pill movement, the MAGTOW movement, the incel movement. We are not the same thing. The men's rights movement is not the same thing as the red pill, MAGTOW, or incel movements. We're simply a movement, an ideology that wants to address issues that affect men and boys. Now, if I were to do a full video on the men's rights movement, it would be a 3-hour video. This is just kind of a quick introduction into what the men's rights movement is and what the men's rights movement means to me. So, thank you very much. My name is BlueOrange22, and have a nice day.